Hey, George.
What's up, man?
We are family. Dun, 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 dun. I got all my cousins and me.
Yeah.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Counterparts. Today's episode is from the next generation. It is called Family, and it's one of our favorites actually because it doesn't take place with a lot of razzle dazzle and stuff. It's really character driven. It's really well directed, well written, and we're excited to talk about that episode today. So thank you for joining us. And as always, George Batista, my cousin, and I say that because this episode is about his family.
Family.
It's called Family, and George is my cousin, and that's all I got to say about that. Yeah, so
And I'm a red shirt, by the way.
yeah, I love the red shirt. It means that you might not be here by the end of the episode.
Exactly. So if something happens to me by the end of this episode, you know why.
Yeah, probably about 40 minutes into this, there's gonna be an empty chair there. Don't know what, but let's see what happens. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate y'all very much. Just remember that if you do like what we're doing here, please like, share, and subscribe. Let your friends know about Counterparts if they're Star Trek fans or just space fans or just like some light entertainment. You know, like we're very light here. We're not, we don't go into heavy topics unless, we talk about that it relates to something, but we don't make things uncomfortable on this show. And we appreciate your views and your support and everything. So we appreciate that. As always, we do have some merch that we enjoy letting you know about. I'm wearing my shirt right now, and you can see there I am the model for Counterparts, and we have cell phones, we have cell phone covers. I mean, tote bags, we have mugs, we have some t-shirts, obviously, and some other cool stuff. So that actually does help the channel. It helps us support the channel, support what we're doing here, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. What else on the agenda here? We're gonna do. We got trivia, right?
We got trivia. We got some news. So
right.
if you want to start, we can start with the trivia.
Yeah, let's do some trivia. I love the trivia part. The last week was really good.
Yeah,
it was good, and we had a good guest on as well, and see if she shows up again.
I was gonna say Hardy Girl. If Hardy Girl is on, or if she comes on, let's see if she gets this trivia. So
yeah,
all right.
So what's our trivia for this week?
So this trivia does have to do with the Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing their episodes, so we might as well just stick with that. So in Next Generation, there have been a few very famous, notable historic characters that were portrayed in the Next Generation in certain episodes. And they were portrayed by very good actors, portraying them. Now, there is one notable famous character who was on Next Generation who actually was the only person to portray himself. Who was it?
The only person to portray himself?
Correct. All other characters on the Next Generation were portrayed by actors except for this one person.
I think I know.
Really?
I think I actually know.
Wow.
I think I actually know.
I'm gonna mark this date
that down. I know anything, but I've been pretty good the last couple of weeks. Last week was tough. I didn't get last week's, but a couple of weeks before that, I was hanging in there with the pros.
All right. Well, good. Well, like I said, we're going to announce this at the end of the show. So if anybody has it, throw it out, and we'll check it at the end of the show.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So we're going to do some news. I do have to apologize. I think last week we kind of forgot the news. That was my fault. I don't know. I didn't want to hear the news. I'm just tired of the news, but I forgot, and I just went right into the episode, and George was like, all right, I guess no news today. But yeah, today we are going to do the news. So stay tuned for Counterparts and the news. Counterparts Star Trek News Updates with George Batista.
All right.
Cool.
Well, this week in Star Trek news, and actually this is a big one for Star Trek Picard fans, because those of you who, many of you probably saw that the first trailer for Star Trek Picard actually aired, and which features not only Sir Patrick Stewart, but actually shows Q, played by John Delancey. So this is exciting, and I'm kind of there's a lot of speculation on what it meant. So John, I don't know if you want to show that clip, but it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I really love when they I mean, that it's one of those characters that everyone really loved. It was just whenever he came on, I always knew it was going to be one of the better episodes.
Right. So yeah, I mean, my immediate thought is, first of all, Q looking older.
Yeah,
right?
But looking good too, right?
But it looks fantastic.
Sharp, and the voice.
Really, the voice is just beautiful.
The voice, how he says his name and his line and the delivery of the lines. He's just
and it's interesting because there were people that were actually complaining. I was kind of reading some of the Trek blogs and things, and they were saying, "Oh, why would they make Q look old?" And I'm like, really? I'm like, first of all, Q actually, and I even forgot this. In the episode All Good Things, which was the last episode of Next Generation, was a 2-part series, Q appeared old. He came on and he actually appeared to Jean-Luc old. So this is not the first time he's appeared old, number one.
Right.
And again, he can appear however he wants, right?
Right, exactly.
So the the speculation is that he's appearing old to kind of appear to Jean-Luc that way because Jean-Luc is old.
Right.
So that's the first thing. And the other thing that I take from it is somehow time has changed.
Right. The whole time.
Right. So there's a
timeline or something.
Yeah, there's a timeline or something has changed. 7 of 9 doesn't have the thing over her eye, and Jean-Luc's his maids or his butlers or whatever have disappeared, and everything is different.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if Q had anything to do with that, or
I'm sure he did.
So probably.
He's probably putting him through some tests that he always does.
Exactly.
And stuff.
So I'm excited for that. That's going to be really, really, really cool. So that's the huge news. Cool.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
And just one other thing I just wanted to bring up is a little bit separate from the news, but it is kind of still news in the Star Trek world. I just wanted to give a special mention to Joanne Linville, who is the actress who played the Romulan in an episode of the original series, where she played the Romulan commander. Okay.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, she passed away at 93 years old.
Right. God bless.
And those of you who followed Star Trek Continues, her character was portrayed by her daughter as well in Star Trek Continues. So, which is Amy Rydell. So, but I just wanted to kind of give a special mention to her because that episode is one of my favorite episodes of the original series, and she did a fantastic job. She was actually a very good actress who played in Twilight Zone and Dr. Kildare and a bunch of Hawaii Five-0 and a bunch of other shows. So, anyway, a life well lived.
Absolutely,
93 years old.
God bless. Safe travels.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, George. So Brian Pollock has a comment. He says, "Oh yeah, no news is good news." I guess that was good news.
Oh, good news. Gary Gnu. Remember that?
Gosh.
Wow.
People under 30 are just like,
yeah.
What are they talking about?
No idea. Yeah.
Of course, they probably don't know what the hell we're talking about with the original series either.
That's very true.
All right. So today we're covering an episode of Star Trek Next Generation. It's called Family, and it's basically right after defeating the Borg, the crew kind of goes on a shore leave, right? And Picard decides that he's going to go home to his family's vineyard in France, and he's going to meet his be with his brother and his family and stuff, and where he grew up basically. So, and then there's a couple of other shorter stories there. There's one with Worf and his parents show up on the ship, right? And he wants a tour, and his parents are very they're humans, right? His parents are human, so they're on the ship. And then I think Wesley's mom gave him Dr. Crusher gave him a small disc that had like a recording of his father,
right?
Just a couple of a couple of days after he was born. He wanted to record this and stuff, and unfortunately he passed away, so he never got to really see his Wesley grow up. So now this is, and that was kind of emotional. I forgot about that section. It was like when I was watching it again, I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, man, it is an emotional thing when you realize what could have been,
right?
When it comes to like a family member and stuff like that. So I guess the first thing we'll talk about is we're going to talk about some performances and some actors that were on this episode, which I thought was really, really top notch. Of course, you have Mr. Picard with his brother, and his brother was played by Jeremy Kemp, and he played Robert, or as we say here in America, Robert. we ruin it here,
yeah.
But Robert, I mean, why would you even want to change that to Robert?
No way.
But yeah, he played a wonderful brother to Picard. Very would you say he was not jealous, but was disappointed with Picard in many ways, because he didn't keep the farm going like his father, and the house maintained. Robert basically maintained the house exactly the way his dad kept it. And so I think he was he was almost a little bit envious of his, because of all the adventures that he went on, and he went off into space, and he joined Starfleet and all that stuff. And but at the same time, he also had like tremendous amount of resentment towards him. So that was the kind of like the conflict between, in that episode was really heavy on that.
Absolutely,
those two characters.
He definitely resented him, but there was jealousy in there, I guess, to a certain extent. Like you said,
very little though, because I don't think he wanted to go into space.
No, he didn't want to go into space, but there was one scene where he's talking to him about when they were kids and how he was always the adventurous one. He always got this. He was always got recognized for that. He always, and even though Picard's brother was the older brother, he's the one that had to take care of them. He's the one that had to do all the things, be the father figure to them. Right. And Picard just, did whatever he wanted to do. And that angered him.
It reminds me a little bit of The Godfather, when you got Michael Corleone and his brother, Fredo. Fredo is the same thing as that scene of where he's just saying, I'm your older brother, you're in control of everything, and he's always like, but anyway, yeah, it kind of reminds me of that little dynamic that they had there between brothers, where the younger brother has a little bit, but I think also, when you have two brothers, for instance, I think there were only two, right? They didn't have any other siblings, right? When you have two, the first one that comes along is the one that they're trying everything out on. It's the one that they're learning everything. They kind of like trying to figure it out. Once they figure it out, the second one comes along and it's like, okay, yeah, he's got it. They give him a little bit more freedom. I think that happens in life, really, when you have siblings and stuff. There's that funny scene of that funny, I think it's a meme, where the woman is like holding the child on her first baby, everything is perfect, and she's like, she doesn't want anybody touching the baby. Oh no, wash your hands if you're gonna touch the baby. And then the next frame is her handing her kid over to the to a mechanic, because she's got to get her car, and the mechanic is all full of grease and stuff, and the kid is holding it. So it's like you get comfortable as you go along.
Yeah. Well, they say that. I mean, and I've heard that from. I mean, I only have one child, but they always tell me that, like, when you get to the second or third child, it's like the first one, you don't you don't want any germs on this kid.
Yeah.
You make sure they wrapped up and you don't take them anywhere. You make sure everything is sanitized and all this. By the second kid, it's like, okay. By the third kid, it's like they just throw them in the dirt, and it was like, whatever,
we got it. We know now that it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I don't think it's good, but I think it's it is what it is. I mean, with we have two. So the first kid, right? I mean, this episode is about family, right? So we're talking about family, right?
Absolutely.
So, the first kid comes in, and we were like, they give you the kid, and then you're leaving the hospital, and I'm like, can we leave? There's a baby here. Shouldn't somebody come with us for a couple of weeks or something? But no, we're literally now heading home with a brand new baby, and after only like she was there for like maybe 3 days or something.
Yeah.
Because we paid for a couple extra days and stuff because Pamela liked the food. So complete truth. She liked it. We were like in a really nice hospital, and they had like really good food. Okay. So she was just like, one more day. She's like at a resort. But so then with our son, although we were still very careful, and but we kind of already knew a little bit of the process, like I knew how to cut the umbilical cord and all that stuff that you end up doing, which is kind of scary. It's just like, you want to cut the umbilical cord? I'm like, no, I don't want to.
I know.
You went to school for this. I didn't go to school for that. I barely went to school. Suddenly I'm like performing surgery, but I did it, and it was fine, and it's very emotional.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. So you look at these two characters here, Robert and Picard, and Jean-Luc Robert. Great names for two sons. But you look at their relationship and you wonder where they're that's another series. You know what I mean? You can actually have the Picard, like when the young generation, like when they were kids and stuff, and how that played out, because
absolutely
you can see that Robert was a worker, and his father probably pushed him to work, and he probably at a young age had to work the fields and stuff like that, which is it's still it's nice to know that that's still going on even in this much into the future, that there's still growing wine, there's still a vineyard where you can get actual wine and not synthol and stuff, all the crap that Picard drinks.
Absolutely. And another thing, the dynamic between them was, and again, things that you see today with older versus younger, let's say, was the cracks he made about technology. Right. Every argument was about, is all that technology that you have, the synthahol that you guys drink is not a match for the real stuff,
the replicator.
And because this guy was an old school guy, he did things the old way. Right. They talked about how these starships have the replicators. Right. And he said, wait, and the wife says, well, we thought about getting a replicator, but it's not a replacement for the real food, right? And that type.
And it's not, because we can look at this now currently with microwaves,
right?
Like microwaves screw up food.
I
don't care who thinks they love microwaves. I know people who live on microwave. Microwaves are horrible.
Yeah,
they're not only do they take this is scientific stuff that you can look up and stuff and prove me wrong is what I always tell people, right? But the food, apparently, if you put an apple. Like an apple has, they put an apple under a glow. I think we talked about this before, like under this ultraviolet thing, and it has like this kind of energy glow to it.
Right.
You put it into a microwave, it jags it all up.
Yeah.
It means that the actual essence of the apple, the nutrition that it's supposed to give you, it wipes it out.
It's gone.
Not to mention the fact that when you warm up anything in there, it's also just disgusting.
True.
So. How much longer, it's always for the convenience, people say, right? But I literally take a pan and I put my food into a pan, and in like 5 minutes, my food is warmed up naturally with fire.
Right.
Yeah. So how much time, what are you doing? I want you to tell me what you're doing with that extra 3 or 4 minutes that you saved. Are you building a spaceship? Are you curing cancer with that extra time? or what are you doing? Then I get pissed off.
Yeah, but no, and you're right, but it's it's a mentality, because remember, the microwave is sold, or technology, right?
Yeah.
Forget, is sold as the convenience. That's how they
We're
sell
gonna
it
get
to you.
one where we're going right now. We're gonna have it comes with the place.
Exactly. This is the
I don't want
convenient
that.
part. This is going to save you the time. So even if it takes you an extra minute to do this, but no, you have to use that because that is marketed as the time saver. And it's really in here.
Yeah.
So,
Brian Regan talks about that, where he talks about the Pop-Tarts.
right.
He's reading it. It's like, toast the Pop-Tarts, for a minute. And then he goes, and there's also microwave. He goes, toast the Pop-Tarts for 3 seconds. That's how much it is. He goes, 3 seconds. He goes, you don't got enough time to like toast the Pop-Tarts for a minute? You don't got that kind of time? He goes, I tell you what, if you got to zap, he said, if you got to zap fry your Pop-Tart, you better loosen up your schedule. You don't know how to live life, Yeah. But it's true, it's like, how much time are you really saving that you're not utilizing it? I can understand somebody who's like really like a single mom with 4 kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's got to get the kids out the door. She's got to warm up food. I understand. I'm not completely heartless about that.
Right.
Some people, it does benefit them, but
right.
If you can do it, just use a pan and use fire. Fire's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Right. It's been around a long time. Right.
Very
It's going to be around a long time coming.
Very
Fire
true.
works. You should have never. You don't have to make it. It's like the Fender Telecaster. It was like the best guitar ever made, and then everything else, it's fine. Les Paul's fantastic. All those guitars are great, but when you go back to there was the first thing that Leo Fender made was a Fender Telecaster. It was perfect. If you go back to 1957 and you grab one and you buy one made today in 2021 and you put them side by side, they're basically the same instrument because he made it right the first time. No reason to like mess around with it. No reason to like get away from fire.
Let's hear it for fire.
Fire!
But anyway, I thought that dynamic was interesting within those characters, and how he ragged on him for all the technology that he uses and stuff like that. And Robert was looking for, he was literally looking to pick a fight in the whole episode, right?
It looked like he was there hostile. Right from the minute he landed, he wanted to be, I don't know what he wanted, but he was just, he had some hostility.
Think about it. He hasn't seen his brother for 20 years. So you've got hostility pent up for 20 years of this, of the resentment and all this that he had, towards him. So now he sees him and he's going to get him. He's going to get it out of him, and then and it's interesting because he knew what he went through. He knew that the Borg had taken him.
But I don't think it was real to him.
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
He does ask him, what did they do to you? He says, right. I know what happened, but I don't know how
he doesn't know. Yeah. And I don't think anybody really would know.
Right.
What, unless you were really, taken over by the Borg.
Right.
But it's sort of like when someone gets into a really bad marriage, it's like,
right. Yeah.
It's like, what did you do? Nobody really knows what that person is going through in that thing that they're involved in, and they stay with it for a very long time.
That's very true.
And they make it work. You know what I mean? Yep. But when you're taken over by the Borg, it's a little different than marriage.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
But my wife could say, "Are you comparing me to the Borg again?" I'm just joking. It was just but again.
It's all right. I compare my wife to the Klingons all the time. So
go black.
Sometimes I wake up and I'm like,
So I think that their relationship was started off rough, and of course they had that funny fight, where they were kind of beating each other up and stuff. But then he really let it out at that point. I think that's what he was holding. That was the aggression and the anger and the frustration, because on one hand he realizes he could have been on this beautiful farm. He could have lived this life. He could have had a wife. He could have had a kid, just like his brother is. So he could have had all these things, but no, he goes up to space and, Borg and all that stuff. So he's coming down like, don't you dare tell me that I made a mistake going to Starfleet. Don't you dare tell me about technology. Don't you dare about this and that. And then finally, at the end, when they have that altercation, then it all comes out.
Exactly.
Then it breaks your heart.
It does.
Then you realize what the pain that he really did go through.
Yes, and again he has to be the almighty starship captain that holds it in, right? Because remember, in the beginning of the episode, I think it was Beverly, either Beverly or I don't know if it was Beverly or Counselor Troy. One of them asked him.
Troy.
She says, "Are you okay?"
Right.
And he's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." But you realize right there, he's not fine.
No, he's not.
He's not fine. And he's going. There's a reason why.
I'm fine.
And honestly, if you think about it from the and again the writing of it, right? Why is he going there in the first place?
Right.
Why is he going to see his family? Because of the trauma that he went through. He's having doubts in his mind. And then one of the other parts of the story, which is kind of in the middle, is that he gets offered a job, to stay on Earth to do like these geological surveys, and I guess they're trying to dig out Atlantis, and there's a whole project, and they actually would love him to head the project. And the interesting thing is that he actually thinks about it. He thought about it. He said, and so he's saying to himself, okay, I went through this traumatic experience, and I could stay here where everything is safe. I can just do this job, But then in his mind is like, but am I going to, you could probably think of himself as saying, am I going to be really happy here doing this? Right.
Right.
So it's interesting.
I mean, it's probably the first time, maybe not the first time, but maybe it might have been the first time with that, because that was more traumatic than he hadn't been through anything like that. Even we covered the episode Chain of Command,
right.
Where he was tortured. I don't think it was nothing like being taken over by the Borg, because your thoughts are being controlled.
Right.
You're killing people and you don't want to kill people, So it might have been the first time he ever thought of actually leaving Starfleet, and it would have been a good opportunity for him. He could have lived at home. He could have been chilled out. He put his time in, what I mean? He didn't really have anything to be ashamed of.
Right.
But he's a Starfleet captain, and a lot of these guys don't want to ever leave that chair, because they love it and they're born for that opportunity. So there are a couple of other stories going on in the middle. Family again, because the episode is called Family.
Right.
So there's 3 stories about family there, and this one is with Worf and his parents who come to visit him. Worf is hilarious.
Yeah.
Come to visit him, and so Worf at this point has been decommissioned or not decommissioned? Discombination, yeah. And so he basically lost his rank that he had worked really hard for, and his parents are coming over. Now his parents are totally understanding, but I think Worf, being Klingon, there's this pride thing, right? And there's no way that he doesn't want to show weakness at anything, including his parents, who are very loving and very supportive. And his father goes around saying, he goes, "Yes, I got the specs at home. I got all the specs of the ship, so I know everything. I want a full tour." And he's like, "I can't give you a full tour now, father." Like, well, we'll get some, we'll find somebody, And so he gets Geordi to basically give him the tour. But there's the struggle. I think he comes to terms with the fact that he's just loved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he has to realize, okay, yeah, it's not about that. It's just about being loved. And he says to them, "I'm glad you're here."
Right.
And that's Worf's way of saying "I love you," right? Because
exactly.
What I mean? He doesn't really say that too often.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's at first when they announced that his parents are coming, first of all, he doesn't even know his parents are coming.
He's just like, what?
He's like, what? They're actually coming to visit me? And I think it's so interesting because you have parents, and again, this kind of relates to today. you have human parents who adopt a Klingon child. This child is different, really, right? He was, and I think they said he was, I don't know if he was the only Klingon in the class or something like that. And all the ridicule and the fights and all the things that he had to deal with because he was different. But his parents loved him and did everything for him and provided him such a great upbringing. They didn't care, right? And that was their message to him. Right. You know, we love you no matter what, whether it's a discommendation or whatever happened, doesn't matter. We love you because we're your parents, you know. Right. It's that unconditional love that was there. Yeah. And that's what he realized.
Right. That's what he realized, because I don't think he was I don't think he felt that, because even though he was raised by human parents, being a Klingon, neurologically, you're born
built
a certain way. You're built differently. And not just that, but he's also been very proud of his heritage, of his planet. Right. And he studied all of it, and he knows a lot about the history of the planet and his people and stuff. So so he has that, going. And I think his parents don't visit him too often. So, having them come back again is sort of like bringing him back to childhood, when he had all these difficulties and trying to fit in and all this stuff. And you could see his awkwardness even talking to them, like he's almost like uncomfortable talking to them, until the end, where he kind of realizes, oh, they just love me. It's like, fine.
He goes through he goes through waves in the episode, because there are times where he's like upset of what his father's saying. Because his father is a little bit he's a eccentric, I guess you could call him. Right?
He's a loud, very smart guy. Also did a lot of work. He's an engineer himself, and so he knows a lot about ships. So he's excited to be on a ship, not just a ship, but the ship, the flagship, so he's excited. He wants a full tour and everything, and his son is chief security of the whole damn place. You know what I mean? So he's like, definitely, I'm proud of that, so I think that bothers him a little bit. His father and Worf is always, Worf is a real interesting character, because he's not necessarily like a lot of other Klingons. Klingons usually are like, they're always like, and he has a very reserved personality. He's quiet. He's kind of shy. He doesn't really want to be out. And his father is kind of the opposite, so that kind of makes him uncomfortable. And his mom is very much she's just typical mom. She loves him and stuff, and speaks words of wisdom to him. But it does take a moment for him to kind of get that, and he does get it, obviously, which is important.
Yeah, he was. I mean, and I understand the character wise why he's like that, which is, again, I think, brilliance of the writing of the character, because he's raised with human parents, and then he goes through Starfleet, right? So even though inside him, he's still Klingon, he still has the pride, he still has that, but he's able to present himself in a way that's acceptable to Starfleet and to his crew, and he's able to kind of be one of them, right? Because and they were talking about it, I think, when Gene Roddenberry first made Next Generation, there were people that were outraged that he would have a Klingon on the bridge, right? Because, I mean, how could you do this, right? Because
he has to look at
because the Klingons
later.
Yeah, because 100 years ago, they were the mortal enemies,
right?
So he was like, now you actually have them on the bridge. But again, it shows the evolution, of the whole thing, because now there's a treaty with the Klingons. We're friends with them. They actually, you have that whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
and I was also going to say that there's also a little bit of holding down, like Worf, I think, because Worf, the Klingon general personality is pretty loud, right? They're pretty out there. They're very opinionated. They're loud. For the most part, I mean, from the ones that you can see, the typical group of Klingons, right? But for him to be in Starfleet, he couldn't be that way.
Right. Exactly.
He wanted to be in Starfleet. So it was like he had to tone that down. So it became part of his personality, even though he had the fire and he could like rip somebody's head off if he had to. You still understood that he had to kind of represent Starfleet. So he had to be a little bit more chilled out. and I think his father might have pushed some buttons on him that he wants to be like, stop it, and so he's got to like hold it down and stuff, So, but yeah, I mean, I get that also, from my kids, like for instance, like I went out with my daughter and my son, and we had the stroller, and I took my because that's what I do. But I took my a little Wi-Fi a wireless speaker that I have, Bluetooth thing, and I hung it up on the thing, and then I connected to my phone, and I start playing music as we're going down the street.
Nice.
And my daughter's like, "Put it down, turn it down, Dad, turn it down." I'm like, "Why? You don't like this song?" We're like listening to 70s because my son likes what's that song? Down, get boogie down.
Oh, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. So he likes Earth, Wind, and Fire because I played him. Awesome. So we played that song. So so yeah, she was like, so I understand sometimes parents can make their kids a little bit embarrassed and stuff like that.
I always it's funny because I when I see that episode with Worf and his parents, I think about myself when my daughter's older, or even now, really, because my daughter's a teenager, right? She's gonna be 15.
I mean, think about it. You're live on a show right now wearing a Star Trek.
I know, and I'm like, so
that is my father, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my father. Mr. Cool, wearing a freaking red Star Trek shirt.
Yeah, that's my dad. My dad with a weird beard and the hat, the cowboy hat. Yep, that's my dad.
No, it's true. And I my the way I threaten my daughter is that I'm going to embarrass her in some way if she doesn't do whatever.
I do that sometimes too.
I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to go to your
thing really loud in this.
Exactly. Or I'm going to go to your next dance, and I'm going to go like right in the middle, and I'm going to with my Star Trek shirt on, and I'm going to like break dance in the middle.
And you would do it.
And I would do it. Absolutely. Just to prove a point.
Exactly. So moving on to our third story is with Wesley. So here, apparently he's 18 years old now, right? And his mom, Dr. Crusher, was holding on to this thing. And I think she just found it. It was in storage or something, and they brought it to her, and she had this little chip, and it had this hologram of Wesley's father giving him a talk when Wesley was just born.
Right.
So 18 years later, she was kind of conflicted giving it to him because she thought, is it going to make it worse or is it going to make it better? She wasn't really sure. I always think that it's better, just, because we should feel emotion. It's not a bad thing feeling emotion. I think too much in society right now, we're trying to find things to suppress emotions, whether it's medication or whether it's some kind of a meditation. I'm trying to control my emotions. No, I think that you should feel. I think we should feel whatever it is that comes up, and then confront it, and then handle it, and then have people around us that are there to love and to respect us and stuff. And she wasn't sure what to do, and obviously she made the right decision. She gave him the chip, and he got to see it. And I believe, let me just check real quickly here on this episode, who played well, obviously Wil Wheaton played the dad. Do you remember who played
the father?
Yeah, it doesn't say it on here.
I don't know if I.
Oh, Jack Crusher. Doug Wert.
Okay.
Yeah, Doug Wert played Jack Crusher,
right?
Which was his father, and he played he did a great job. Very simple monologue that he had to deliver, but he did it really well and very believable. You also believe that that's his dad too,
Yeah,
which is kind of funny because he's only there. He's probably only 24, 25 years old.
Right.
Wesley is about 18, so it's kind of interesting to see them, together there and stuff. So, very sweet part of the story there. One of those subplots. It actually was not. They didn't spend a lot of time on it. This is the brilliance of Next Generation, because and the writing. And not just Next Generation, but a lot of these shows, they know how to write so well that they can give you a whole full perspective of what's happening within 3 to 4 minutes.
Right.
I mean, these scenes have to be tight, because the show is only an hour long, But yet in this show, look at all the stuff that we're talking about. It happened in only a 1 hour show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was like the conflicts between Picard and his brother, Wesley and Worf. They all had stories intertwining, you know, and other things going on the ship, and it just blends together so well within that 1 hour. And that's why the writing on Star Trek and a lot of these TV shows has to be so tight.
Yes.
You know, you cannot have a conversation like, you want to go there? Yeah, let's go. All right, cool. All right, you know, you have to cut out, you know, all right, let's go. That's the scene. People know what the next thing is.
Right.
Because I was watching the scenes with Dr. Crusher, and that scene with Troy, Counselor Troy. It was very quick.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very quick scene, you know, but it within that whole scene, you got the whole gist.
Exactly.
You got the whole gist in that one scene that they had together, and that was it. You know, so I love that they do that, and they're just really experts at that.
Yeah, they don't leave loose ends anywhere. They tighten each end perfectly. Where you know, I mean, anybody can come in and not know anything about Star Trek and watch those scenes and know exactly what's going on with those
this
characters.
is actually a standalone episode.
It is.
It is, you know, other than the fact that, you know, you don't know what happened with the Borg, but if you understand that, you know, Picard went through something with the Borg, if you've never seen any Star Trek episode at all, this one you can watch from start to finish and get a good gist of these characters and just really get good storytelling.
Yeah, and the other brilliant thing I like about what they did in this one, particularly, and again, you said Next Generation does it really, really well, is they have the stories. All the stories are related, meaning that they're all about family. That's number one. But you get to see three things. They introduce three parts of the family that you've never seen before. Right. You see Picard's Picard's family that you've only heard about, but you've never seen them before. So they introduced it. Now you get to see them. You see Worf's parents that you've never seen before, you've heard about. Okay. They're there. You see Jack Crusher, which you've heard about, but they're all introduced one right after the other in this beautifully, episode. Exactly. A mosaic. And so it's not only, it's all together. It's that's why the whole episode is called family, because it's not just about one family. It's literally like three families.
Right.
And then they're all new characters.
Yeah, and I love when they do that, because, you know, these are backstories. You know, it's like you get to know the character better, because this is only season 4, right? So we still had 3 more seasons to go, and this was only, I think, episode 2, right, of season 4, maybe, or maybe not. I don't remember.
I don't remember which one it was, but
I think I don't remember if it was or wasn't. But
actually, no, it was episode. Yeah, no, you're right. It was 1 or 2, because I think at the end of the previous one is where he gets captured.
Right.
And so I think it is episode 2.
Yeah, I think it's episode 2. So, you know, you realize that these characters are going to go on for a whole other season, and then they go on for 3 more after that, or 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, for 3 more after that. So you realize that, and plus the movies, giving them these backstories and doing these episodes really, you know, really brings these characters more to life for people, and makes them more real. It makes them more relatable, and they get to see them. You know, now when people see Wesley, they're gonna know about his dad Jack and what happened. So you can use these stories for moving forward in dialogue.
Exactly.
You know, you can in dialogue, and it helps because people are familiar with it. They're gonna know, oh yeah, you know, that was his dad, Jack.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it related. I mean, you know, I found something interesting in it because, for me personally, like, you know, when I watch that, especially, well, more with Worf's story and also Wesley's story, that it has to do with the parents, it has to do with there's a father figure there, you know, and me just going through Father's Day. This is, I think, the second Father's Day where my dad's not around, because he passed away a couple of years ago, you know. So you have that, there's an emotional component just personally watching these, you know, these episodes and seeing, you know, like, wow, you know, the relationship that they have with that, you know, that sometimes you take for granted, right? Sometimes, you know, when my dad was around, I didn't see him as much as I should have, you know, I didn't see him as much as I wanted. And then after, of course, now my dad's not here, you're like, wow, you know, maybe I should have spent some more time with him, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very emotional thing. And, you know, especially when you're talking about, you know, passing on and stuff. And Wesley never really got to meet his dad, so I have some reality in that.
Right.
If I had a little thing that my mom gave me, goes, here's a little VHS tape, or here's a cassette player,
Yeah.
or an 8-track of your dad, saying something. But I had my grandpa, so my grandfather filled those shoes better than anybody could have. But yeah, when you're talking about family and you're talking about putting stories together on family, it's very difficult to find stories that not only are not cheesy. Yeah, all these stories are not cheesy. You know what I mean? Because you can easily get cheesy in a lot of when you're talking about family and you're talking about these things. But these stories were very powerful and they were written extremely well.
Yeah.
And when me, right, I'm a father. I just went through Father's Day as well. My I guess my daughter is 10 years old, so it's my 10th Father's Day. Actually, I don't know if I told you this, George, but I found out that Pamela was pregnant on Father's Day.
Really?
June 2010.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, June 2010, and then a year later, it was Father's Day. I remember I got home and I was
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I was shooting a film actually, and it was one of those films that was really like I had to be underneath it. I was like it was a dirty movie. No, it was a film where I was under.
You did those kind of films.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was gonna go somewhere else, but then I'm like, let me not go there. So, but it was I was shooting like in a dirty basement and stuff.
Right.
So I came home and I was exhausted. So I jumped in the shower and I go lay down, and then my wife brought in the little test, and she hands it to me in a little box.
Wow.
Now, it's Father's Day. I have but I didn't even think about Father's Day because I had already spoken to my grandpa earlier. So I get this thing. I open it up and it says, pregnant or something on it.
Right.
So I'm looking at it. I don't even have my glasses on. I'm like going like, and I put them on. I was like, are you serious? It was like, start bawling and everything. And then I realized, oh my God, it's Father's Day. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So yeah,
I was going to say that. I mean, the feeling, right? It's such a weird feeling when you get that news, right?
Man,
you know what? I don't know if you know. I know this is kind of off topic, but I don't know if you when you became a dad, did your emotions change? Meaning, like, do you find yourself more emotional now?
Yeah. And it's definitely not off topic. It's this is what we're talking about, family. This episode with these situations. But yeah, no, I mean, it's way more like I'm still amazed at my kids. Like I still get like I'm still like just looking at them, and whenever my daughter is talking to me, I'm just listening and like, my God, and even with Pamela, I'm like usually like, if Ben is talking and he's like telling me, he goes, no, because if you get one of the things, then you're gonna, he's telling me about how to play a game, but then you're gonna die, so you don't want to do that. You want to go over, he's telling me the whole story, and I'm just like tapping, Pamela. I'm like, can you believe this? This is like our son, and these are our kids. So yeah, I'm way more emotional now. I cry at insurance commercials.
Yeah, I'm like, I cry at the opening of a Grand Union. I'm like, it's like, it's funny because I'm
very emotional, man. It's weird.
Before my daughter was born, I was always, like this, and then after my daughter was born, I remember the first time it happened to me. This was probably, within a year or maybe, or maybe a little over, maybe 2 years after she was born. And I'm in the shower one day and I'm thinking about her. Like, and she had done something funny, and I'm just kind of thinking about her, and just out of nowhere, a wave of emotion hits me, and I just start to bawl.
Wow!
In the shower, I just start to bawl, and I don't know why. It was just like I was thinking about it, and I don't know if it was like
I do that too.
I was. I don't know if it's because I held it in for so long. Maybe
probably,
it was, but it just came out of me, and I remember leaving that going, I can't believe that, like this little girl made this guy, just cry out of nowhere,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I do that too. Like I'll think about something funny. I'll be walking down the street and just think about that and just smile and laugh. And
it's
think about how amazing. It is a really emotional thing being a dad and just being a responsible dad. You know what I mean? Like not being a dad because they're
anybody could be just a dad.
Could be a dad,
to me, the father is
biological
the
father. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
But to be and not to say that even people that have been divorced. I know some people that are divorced and they're great fathers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Marriage didn't work out for whatever reason, but they're always present for their kids.
Yes,
they're always there. You know what I mean? So it's not just that, but it's really a very needed thing especially in the Puerto Rican and minority communities where fathers are just so absent, like 70% or something ridiculous, and numbers are so tragic. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like all these kids needs are fathers, man. They just need fathers. They need that. And it's not like I don't know if you have this, and we're gonna jump off this topic and talk about Star Trek again. But I don't know about you, but do you have also like the discipline that you put in, like a father puts in? Like I've never hit my kids. I've never done that. I will never hit my kids. It's not. I just don't believe in that works.
Exactly.
People have to each their own. I just don't believe it works personally for me.
Right.
But there's a tone that a father has. There's a discipline that a father has that is completely different than a mother. And I feel bad sometimes because Pamela sometimes cannot handle certain situations. And if I come in and I'll be like, all right, I'm going to count. If in 5 seconds, if you guys don't have your pajamas on, we're going to, and then I'll be 5, 4, they're like, no, wait. And they're running and they get this, and it puts discipline in, like there's something about the voice of a dad that you need.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. And it's the same thing with me. I've never had to hit my daughter, and I'm the same. I have the same thought process that to me, it doesn't work for me at all. And my daughter's never even done anything to warrant it anyway.
Right.
Exactly. But those times where you do have to instill the discipline, I didn't even have to, because all I had to do was give her that look.
Yeah, the look.
Say, this is not, whatever I said, and boom, she would just look at me with those eyes, because that it was there, and the lesson is there, right? That lesson of, and I explained it too. This is why we don't do this, and this is the lesson to this, but the dad has that thing.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously, moms are good too.
No, moms do most of the work, so I can't complain. But
I know, I'm just kidding. Moms are all right.
What was it, John?
They do their things.
What I remember, John, and we'll wrap up after this, but John, you said to me once that being a dad is like when you equate it to work, like dad is like Bob from accounting, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm like Bob from accounting, but I get called in when things get really
things get the IT guy or something.
Yeah, the IT guy. When things really get bad, I gotta come in and I gotta fix shit. funny man. Cool. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our that was actually a full episode of not only
Star Trek, but
family,
life.
Star Trek family, but even our own personal lives. There, I hope we appreciate you listening to that. So let's do some trivia now.
Yes.
I think I know what the answer is for this one.
All right, so we're gonna see if John gets it this week. So again, the trivia question is, who is the only person in Next Generation to actually play themselves in an episode? Now, this is a person who's a very famous person in history, a very famous person in society, but he played himself in the show. So who was the only person, John?
Obama. No.
You saw that episode?
Yeah. We must get. Oh, I can't really do an Obama. Okay. Stephen Hawking.
You are correct. Very good, John.
I remember the episode, and I thought to myself, "Who is
He was around the table playing cards with Data, Albert Einstein, and Isaac Newton.
Right. I love that episode.
Yeah, it's a cool episode.
Man, that whole what do you call it? The hologram The holodeck, I mean.
Holodeck, yeah.
Oh man, that holodeck is so cool.
Isn't that awesome?
But the crazy thing is now that I just had a friend of mine tell me about those glasses, the 3D glasses.
Yeah.
And he's blown away by this right now. It's only like $300. You literally put it on and you are where you are right there. You're looking around, you're wherever you want to be. You literally can be at a concert, at the front row of a concert, and you're watching a concert. But not only can you watch the concert, you can turn around and look at the audience,
people behind you,
and look at people around you and next to you and everything. Be right at the concert. It is. He was telling me that it's the most bizarre thing he's ever seen, and that the technology is already there for us to do this. And there's another thing where you strap yourself on this circle, and the circle is sort of like a treadmill. It moves. So you can actually run on it, and so you have this stick that is like your gun, and you have this headset and stuff. And the guy's like, he's running down, and he's running, and I think I can't even imagine what he's looking at.
That is awesome.
Yeah, but anyway, I was just thinking about the holodeck. All right, well, folks, want to thank you very much. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like these conversations with me and George here. We talk about Star Trek, but obviously we talk about everything else, right? This is a show where we build a bridge between Star Trek and everything else, and that's what it's all about. So we hope you enjoyed this evening's presentation, and we will see you all next week. I don't know what date it is, but we will see you on that date, and hope you can tune in. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful week ahead. God bless you all. Take care, and as always, peace.